Hey everybody. What's up, Baron?
What's up, Ross?
Um, Hello, Open Center community, Open Center family, everybody joining us today. I haven't done one of these Facebook Lives in a really long time, and they're always a lot of fun because there's no agenda. We have a few things we want to talk about. So, hello everybody. My name is Ross. I run the Open Center. If you're watching this, you probably know, but we are a nonprofit and we're the longest running urban holistic center, like a place for spiritual practice and personal growth in North America. And we do a lot of really cool things, which is what we're here to talk about today. And we also get to do cool things with a lot of really cool people, which is why I'm talking to Baron today.
Oh, all
Um,
right.
and no pressure there. And Baron and I'll say, and Baron, I want you to give a little bit of, I don't have like a sheet of your intro, but I'll just say you and I got connected through a mutual friend, our friend Ryan Freed. Shout out to Ryan, love you. And I was exploring a few things for the Open Center. He was like, "You got to talk to Baron." And so you and I went and we had several walks together out in Fort Greene Park, which is such a cool way. Like, think about some of the benefits of COVID. It's like before we would have met in a coffee shop or something, you know? But like,
Absolutely.
we took a walk together in the park and it was great. And, we got to bond that way. And there was no agenda of our relationship. And it was like we just kept talking and things bloomed. And here we are. And, you're helping us at the Open Center with a few really, really amazing stuff. And I think we're going to talk about some of that today. So I'll pause and just why don't you let everybody know about like what you do, what you're up to. People might think you're a professional guitar player by
Exactly.
you got that cool ass looking microphone right in front of you. You got some guitars on the wall back there.
Exactly.
So
So
how many bands do you lead?
listen. It's all in the mind.
Uh,
In my mind, I'm a great guitar player, even though I really don't know how to use much of that back there. I practice, I play, um, and with the mic, I'm a filmmaker. So being a filmmaker, you start to understand and learn things about audio, which is cool, and voiceover work. I do some acting on the side also. I am definitely a creative artist, as I like to say. But I think a really interesting thing is to take a step back when you talked about how we met through Ryan. And Ryan, I met him when I used to be the president of this small company that designed and developed like high-end fitness facilities, and I ran management for them. And Ryan and I, over the past, few years, just been talking. We've collaborated on some things together, and he mentioned you. And I'm like, okay, so the Open Center, I definitely know the Open Center because I've taken some of the courses there. And so I still remember he's like, yo, you got to reach out to Ross. And I said, okay, great. Of course, just like you, I'm like, well, what are we gonna meet about? I have no idea. But since I'm a yogi, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna stay open, see what happens. And that's when we connected. And those walks in the park actually were more than just a walk in the park for me because I need to get out of my place. I
mm,
mean, I'm in my own little bubble world here,
yeah.
and it was great to do a walk and talk. Uh, just fun.
I think maybe we should go there now because that's such a cool transition of we're all in our own little bubble worlds right now. And I keep I keep talking to a lot of friends that are just struggling. I mean, including myself, I feel like a lot of us are with being in the bubble. And and I try to remind others. It's harder to remind myself, but then when you remind others, you hopefully you're listening to yourself. And you're like, everybody is going through this right now. And it doesn't always like alleviate the pain, because the pain is still real of whatever you're experiencing, but understanding you're not abnormal going through this right now, I think does make you feel a little better. But what part of what you and I are doing, the Storyteller series, which I want to talk about, is a way to get people outside of their bubble.
Absolutely.
Like what better time, what more needed time to hear what's going on in other people's lives than when you're in the bubble? Because one, it's like reading a fantasy novel. You're like, oh my God, I get to just like voyeuristically live through somebody else's experience. But also, when you're in this bubble that we all are in right now, you tend to, there's almost like a lack of awareness sometimes for everything else going on outside of what you read on the internet. But like, you really feel your own problems, and we're not out in public feeling everybody else's problems like we used to. And I think
Mhm.
what we're going to work on here really allows a connectivity to other people's lives and other people's problems and other people's joys and sorrows.
Mhm. Mhm. I like what you're saying, and just to feed off of that, the storytelling thing, it's been around for a very long time. Storytelling could be visual, it could be vocal, it could be both, a combination, one or the other. And I think in this time of COVID, we tell a lot of stories. We tell the stories of, gosh, do you remember what we used to do before COVID?
Mhm.
Do you remember? And then all of a sudden, we're talking about what we used to do. Then we go even further.
Right.
We start talking about, hey, remember when we were in college?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're going to college. We're going to like when we were childhood, which I think storytelling brings us back to the root of life, relationships. That's what storytelling is. It's really just being able to um, tell something, a personal thing that has happened to you, and share it with somebody. Because, like you're saying, we're in that bubble, right?
Mhm.
And we get tired of watching the news. Okay, we went through elections. Yes, we've gone through, trials and tribulations. We don't ever discount that. But guess what? There are positive stories out there, stuff that we can talk about that makes us feel good, because we're not going to be like this forever. And so, when we started thinking about storytelling, it's like, okay, what can we do to give people kind of like a mental break of craziness in the world, and really just share stories in a virtual environment that we can, have conversations with one another.
Mm.
And so, I think when I look at storytelling, what we're doing right now is just the beginning,
Yeah.
literally. I see storytelling, especially because, I've come from that corporate background, and um, a lot of times, being a person of color, our stories are not always told or expressed how we really feel. And I think by you allowing, the Open Center to have a platform to share stories, and share stories about, being holistic, spiritual, focusing on things that improve our lives, I want to share that with all our people, all our BIPoC people, all the people of color, because it is so important.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot because I'm really curious about this. Can you think of an example of when, as a Black person, your story might have been told without the way you phrase it? I think without understanding of how you feel. Give me like a bad example of that so people can understand what you mean, and then
Oh,
and then a good example.
okay. Well, as a bad example, I'll talk about like when I'm in the corporate world, right? There was a time, a company that I worked for, I had a boss who, he's very opinionated. And the way that I am growing up in a household of an educator and a business person, we're taught a certain way of how to articulate what our feelings are, but in a calm way. But when you have a person that doesn't speak to you or doesn't, I guess, uh, understand where you're coming from and think that because how they think you should think, I think that it discounts me as a person, and then it kind of puts me back into my little bubble where I don't even want to talk about
Mm.
what's really right and important, because I'm focused on like, wow, you just discounted what I just said, and you're not really trying to get to know me and understand my perspective. And so I feel as a Black person, and people that are not within our culture, it's just like open up your eyes and just listen and try to put yourselves in in those shoes. And sometimes I don't think people do that. They don't put themselves in their shoes. They only know what they know. Oh, everyone should be the same. No, everyone is not the same, because we all didn't grow up the same way. We all didn't have mentors. We all didn't have certain amount of money. We all didn't have the same kind of education. So when you start thinking about those type of things, you know, take a step back. Like, you know what? This person could have a valid point. And not to say that everything that I have said over my career or even at that instant is right, but we do have a right to an opinion and to talk about stuff in a way that we can come to a common agreement, right? So that to me, that was like I guess a negative. Now I have had a boss. I still know his name is Vince Vitiello, Italian guy from Long Island, used to run MetLife. He became the chief marketing officer at Allianz, where I used to work. And this guy, he knows how to communicate to everyone because he understands people. And it really, he understands the demographics and where it's shifting. I've actually never seen like a white guy talk about multicultural the way that he has for many years and still talks about it today, working with these companies and insurance brokers. And from him, I've learned so much because he spent time with me. He spent time to educate me, talk to me about life. And, you know, when you talk I think when you talk to people about life and their experiences and sharing, this is going back to storytelling. When they tell you their stories and they're really opening up. I still remember the time when he opened up. He's like, "Oh, Baron, are you investing?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know, kind of, sort of." He's like, opened up his uh his uh trading account for his kids. His
Mm.
kids. His kids weren't even, I think they were teenagers. And then I saw like the balance of like $2 million.
His kids had $2 million.
This is for the kids when they grow up.
Ah, okay,
But
good.
but you understand. But see, what I'm saying is he shared that with me because one, he trusted me. Two, he understands not everyone has the same background, not everyone has the same knowledge. And when he shared that with me, it just opened up my eyes. And that was a story, right?
Mm.
That was a story that needed to be shared. So I feel like when we're talking about storytelling, like we're going to be telling personal stories tomorrow night, and it's not necessarily the story that is going to change your life, but it shows a different perspective of where people are coming from a specific point of time. And if we're able to take that and listen to it and just take it in, we're creating this thing with what we want to be: unified. We want to be open. I bring it back to the open center. The open center is for everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want people to understand about psychedelics. I want people to understand about Reiki or meditation. Why? Because it helps. It helps the person. It has helped me over my years. And I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to really, host something that people can really engage with, right? And learn something, and just learn to be open to other people. That's how I see it. Storytelling.
One, I'm glad you said something good about Vince. I was like, oh boy, you just dropped his name out there. If you say something bad, we're gonna have to
No, he's
call
great.
we're gonna have to call the lawyers. But now I want to meet Vince. I mean, that's really cool. And you got me thinking of, like, I had a boss once say to me, really try and only do business with people that you would trust with your children.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, just you want that level of trust. I mean, we can't, I want to say, like, we don't always have that luxury, but we generally have that luxury more than we think we do. We don't force it enough. Um,
Absolutely. And
talk.
here's another thing, right? We all don't speak the same, right? I've had a conversation with my own family, about a person that may have presented at their company, and the way that they presented themselves was not the way that the corporation saw it. And I said, as an older person now, I have to take a step back and really think about that. I'm like, again, everyone has their own story, and we all don't talk the same. We don't all want to be just the same. We don't all want to use vanilla, just everyone. We'd be robots. We need people who have expression. We need people who may have a different dialect. Absolutely. And we need people that have had different experiences. It's the only way we learn.
So I want to dig into that. Something that we talk about a lot, and this, we talk about internally at the Open Center, is why we do what we do. Like, yes, we have a mission and a vision and a purpose, just like every nonprofit and hopefully every organization, for profit or nonprofit. Um, People bring a lot of ideas to us to do. And because you and I have had the conversation, that our philosophy is always, how is this, why should this be at the Open Center? Everything we do needs to feel Open Center-y, Open Center-ish. And I always think people should see this and think, of course the Open Center is doing that. That's how we know it feels Open Center-y. Or there's people can find that, people can find that information in 10 other channels, but, like, how is it being presented at the Open Center in an Open Center way? So what are your feelings on storytelling, and why storytelling is actually important to people's personal growth, spiritual growth, the path, whatever words you want to use? How do you think about those things together?
Mhm. I think when I think of storytelling and what we're doing, I think it is an avenue where people can learn more about other people and learn more about other modalities,
Hmm.
meaning the Open Center. So my belief is that not everyone finds the Open Center because they were looking for the Open Center, right? They don't know what the Open Center is. How do
Right.
they know what the Open Center is unless somebody has gone there and talked to them about it? Has it been marketed and people are in the community talking about this from the Open Center? Yes or no? So storytelling, by gathering people who are not even a part of the Open Center, they're sharing their experiences, but they also sharing, some of the people that are doing storytelling have personal experiences about what has helped them in their life, and they may not talk about those things in their story, but I know the storytellers that are there, and they all have unique practices, everything
Right.
from meditation to Reiki. They all do. How do you then take that and bring it to a larger audience? And I debate this with many people, and I think storytelling is entertaining. Storytelling
Oh, hell
is
yeah.
storytelling is inspiring.
Yeah.
So why not? You're taking a mental break at home for people who are like, okay, I'm tired of watching the series on TV. I'm tired of all the crazy stuff in the news. And now I get to watching people tell some cool stories. Yeah, that's the entryway. And then the entryway opens up to, what is the open center, right? Most people don't, from, the community may not know who the open center is. Perfect platform to start sharing and talking about, what things are happening at the open center. That's the beginning. That's just to hook people to come in. But it's even more than that, is because you, as the CEO of Open Center, you understand this and you believe in it. And so you're actually going outside of the realm of it's open centery. It's like, oh, it's storytelling. Is it exactly fitting in with what Open Center does? No. But you understand people have unique stories. You understand that people could learn about things that you know about, or things that I know about, in a different way. It doesn't always have to be clear cut.
I
Sorry,
like that.
I get
No,
kind of
I
passionate about
like.
this stuff.
I'm I I'm thinking. I'm thinking the role of storytelling in my own life and my own path, and how it might be relatable to others, and why storytelling might not seem, as you said, might not seem on the surface to be a part of like a spiritual practice or personal growth, just listening to somebody else's story. But for me, it really is. And I think of, I grew up in a town in the South, really conservative Christian town, 30, 40,000 people, went to public school. Our school was, I think, 40% Black, probably 55% white, and 5%, or I think Hispanic and Asian. I mean, probably even less than that. It was mainly just white and Black.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was pretty integrated, especially for a school in the South, and we were like the city school. And I remember, I was a Jewish kid, so I there were like 5 Jewish kids in our high school at 1,200. So there were
Wow.
probably 600 Black kids, and or 500, and there were 5 Jewish kids. So people didn't even know what being Jewish. People like, what does that even mean? Are you guys a different race? Where are your horns? Stuff like
Right,
that.
right, right,
And
right.
so I grew up feeling very much like the other. Um, and I remember I did one of those was outward bound things. Everybody did, like in 7th grade. I think it was 6th or 7th grade. And I'm sitting out there with a kid that I had been in school with since kindergarten. And we're sitting out there on a rock overlooking the mountains. And I remember he told me that his mom was 14 when she had him. And I was like, what? I mean, I never knew that. I've known the kid since he was 5. I had no idea. I remember we were 14 and he told me his mom was 28. I was like, your mom's 28?
Right, right.
And that has stuck with me for a long time. That story, I actually can still see us sitting on that rock having that conversation. And the reason I bring it up is because the spiritual path, the path of personal growth, whatever we want to call it, awareness, internal and external awareness, is one of the core pieces, one of the core elements of the practice of the path. And part of it is awareness of things going on inside your body, internal awareness, and part of it is the external awareness. For me, the external awareness of understanding this guy that I've been friends with since I was 5. I had no idea his mom was 14 when she had him, and him telling me stories about what that was like, that elevated my external awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the transition here to what we're talking about is storytelling is a way to elevate your external awareness. And awareness is such a piece of our practice. Like think about all the somatic experiences, the embodied stuff, breath work, whatever it is. It's all about like feel something in your body. Okay, now like exist in your shoulder. What does that feel like?
Right.
Give your shoulder compassion. Have love for your shoulder, the pain in your shoulder. it's all about awareness.
Absolutely. Yeah. That makes me think like in storytelling, when you say that awareness, right? It is a practice. And when we hear a story, it's like, or when you're telling a story, you're becoming aware of something that has happened in the past or the present, or maybe aware of something that might happen in the future because you're
Hmm.
articulating it. It is that thing. It's like, wow, I never really, thought of it like that, like awareness, because it is important. It's definitely important to.
Shout out to one of my favorite books. I'll put it out there.
That's right.
Anthony
Awareness.
Anthony DeMello's Awareness. I have probably bought this book for 20 people. I freaking love this book. Thank you, Dave Marcus. Shout out to Dave Marcus, who's the one who recommended it to me.
Uh-huh.
That book's fantastic. It's the first step, awareness, internal and external awareness. Can't go anywhere without it.
That's right. That's right. That's how we grow. That's how
So,
we learn about things in life.
what do you think? So you mentioned, like this is a little something different for the Open Center. I mean, we should be clear too. We're having a storyteller series. It's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, right?
7 p.m. to 8:30. Yep.
And we've got how many people telling stories?
Yeah, so we have six powerful storytellers from various backgrounds. They're super cool. They all have their own personality. They're super unique,
Hmm.
and I can't wait to see their personalities on screen. I think people will be pleasantly surprised and excited. It's exciting to hear people's stories and know a little bit more about somebody. It's like, like when you watch a reality show, you kind of like get into it, like, oh my God, like who's this person? And sometimes that's trash, but this is going to be like, this is like, oh, these are like my people. These are people I know. This is great. So yeah, it's tomorrow, 7 o'clock to 8:30. It'll start out with actually you and I will you'll introduce the open center. I'll talk a little bit. You'll tell your
I,
vision.
I can't remember. Are we charging for this or is this free?
Oh, it's free. It's free.
Free. Oh
That's
my
that's
God.
right.
Free
That's
storytelling. Free story.
Yep.
It's like getting Netflix for free. You get to tune in and listen to a cool story instead of watching it on TV.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the things I appreciate about you. You didn't really think about the like, well, how much money can we generate from this? Your thought on, just make it free.
Mm.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think people and organizations need to do more stuff like that often. So
That being said, we would love a sponsor for this series. We we
that's
are a nonprofit. We can take a tax deductible donation. Anybody that comes tomorrow and like, wow, this is really, really cool. I'm so glad they're doing this. I'd love to be a part of this and sponsor it. We would love that
absolutely.
because keeping it free is something that's important to us. I mean, we
Yeah.
honestly, Baron, we want to do more and more stuff for free. Just, sadly, we have our own financial realities and we have a staff and, everybody needs to get paid. None of us get paid well, but like we all want to be paid.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really do want to do more for free. I mean, you always like
You
want to.
always want to do it right, right, right. If
Uh,
everything could just be free. We are tomorrow. I will ask people for donations so that perhaps that can help us
oh,
um,
cool. Cool.
create, create some, continue to create these storytelling series and other things that the Open Center could be open to.
Cool. Well, I'm really excited for us to do something that is new to us, that feels different to us, that it's cool you and I got to have this conversation about how on the surface it might not look like classic open center, breathwork class, but it actually is really related to our mission, which is creating a more harmonious relationship between people and the planet. And part of that is people to people, creating a more harmonious relationship. And in listening to other people's stories and feeling, trying to really like feel what it is like to be in someone else's shoes, that's how you create a harmonious relationship. It makes me think, Baron, I went to a career coach years ago, Maggie Mistel. Shout out to Maggie, I love you, who taught at the Open Center years ago, funny enough. And Maggie, one of the exercises was, Maggie, I remember, asked me this question: if you were the wise man, woman, or person in a village, and people came to you, and you could only give them one piece of advice or one superpower, what would it be? And my answer was to walk in another person's shoes.
Wow.
To always be able to be in the other person's perspective. And I said to Maggie, if we did this 100% of the time, the world would be a blissful place, because you're always understanding where the other person's coming from. And so I feel like it's so cool that this is what we're doing, because that is what the Storyteller series is about. And that is part of our all of our own internal practices, internal and external awareness. So I'm just thrilled we're doing it, man. I'm really thrilled you and I are friends and doing this together. And it's one of many new things the Open Center is going to be doing in 2021.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
So we'll make this a movement. I
We'll
love it. I love it.
We'll see everybody tomorrow night, 7 o'clock.
7 p.m. Tune in, register. You have to register, Open Center.
Oh yeah, register, Open Center, opencenter.org.
There it is. All right.
See you, everybody. See you, Baron.